select a Vantage workflow and then submit a job to it. And then that essentially submits a playlist to Vantage, which then will go and read the paths to the media files. But I mean, what it's clever at is it automatically identifies camera card structures. So you can point it at a folder tree on a hard drive or on a NAS or a SAN, and it'll scan down the folder tree looking for camera card structures. So it knows how to look for example, a Panasonic P2 card or an XD cam card or a XAVC card or a GoPro file or a DJI drone card. We've taught it how to kind of recognize card structures. And if your card structure, say, is broken, someone hasn't copied it quite correctly on a shoot, you can still go in what we call it into a files only mode, where you can browse individual single clips and then submit those, or you can actually build your own playlist out of those clips. So it becomes like a sort of pseudo camera card structure. But it was really designed for production staff to use. So we have people using it with content agent in things like news ingest, or so journalists use it, or very non-technical staff in production companies use it to ingest, to kind of basically submit and ingest camera card media into a content agent workflow. But now we're kind of bringing this to Vantage. So it's got a very sort of simple user interface, and it really allows you to, on the left, to kind of browse UNC paths or or drive letters. And then, like I was saying, you point it to the top of a folder tree and it'll scan down the folder tree searching for cards. So probably the best thing to do at this moment, I would say, is to actually launch CardAgent, and then we can show you how it kind of works in conjunction with a Vantage workflow. So I'll let Nick just take control, because we're using a couple of PCs here to log into a system.
And everybody, this is the first time you're publicly seeing CardAgent for Vantage. It's still in development. We'll be showing it at NAB, but this is really the first time it's being seen publicly.
Yes, I was about to say that, but you beat me to the thunder, Bob.
Ooh,
yes, this
I'm
is
sorry.
No, that's good. No, this is, yes, the first public outing. So we've nearly finished the development. It's very close now to being done, the first version, which, as Bob said, we're going to show it at NAB and then kind of start shipping shortly afterwards. So as Nick is showing here, so on the left is what we're in called cards mode, and this is where you point it to a USB path, which is essentially what Nick is doing here. And it's looking for camera cards. So it's found some XD cam cards, some ARRI cards, some, what else is it found? Some GoPro, some AVC HD, some DJI, a P2 card. And it looks at them and it shows you them as if it's an actual structure. It's a container, and inside the container is the actual camera card media, so the clips. So yes, as Nick clicks on a card here, it's showing, for example, on this card, there's only a couple of clips, but you can see it shows you the kind of name of the clip, the format, the frame rate, the kind of codec, how many audio tracks it's got, start and end time codes, the duration, and we'll also look at the kind of the top level folder name. So we'll identify what the actual kind of camera card name is, so to speak. And then at this point, you can, if you want to, you can kind of play a clip, and it's got this player, and you can kind of resize the player. It is playing kind of the full res version of the clip. It's not playing a proxy, because it'll play it from whatever the location is of the media file. So it could be a card reader you've plugged into your local PC playing directly off a memory card. It could be a UNC path. It could be a hard drive, a RAID array. As long as there's a Windows driver, obviously we can connect to it. So at this point, you can use the player to mark in and out points if you don't want to submit the whole clip. So, I mean, for example, if someone's got a GoPro file, which is 6 hours long, and they only really want to ingest a couple of minutes of it, they can just mark an in and out point on the 6 hour clip and then just submit that. So it'll only transcode the 2 minutes of the 6 hours. But you can do things like you can obviously pick and choose which clips you want to process, or obviously all the clips on a card. You can rename the actual card name if you want to. You can give it a new card name. You can also rename the individual clips if you want in this UI. So you can append and pre-append, and there's a whole kind of naming convention where you can add a kind of alphanumeric structure to the renaming of the clips. So it allows someone at a sort of very manual level to sort of data wrangle the media. But so what we do then is we connect. You basically set up a connection to your Vantage system. So we have a kind of a little setup page here, which allows you to connect to your kind of Vantage server name, and then it'll show you categories. You can set up a category in your Vantage system with various sort of CardAgent workflows if you so desire. So you can very much sort of pick and choose what someone can see, obviously, in these different folders in terms of workflows. And then if you click on a workflow and that workflow happens to have some labels and variables configured inside it, they will also appear in the user interface. So here, for example, we've got some variables where there's some pre-populated metadata, and you can obviously set this up in your Vantage workflow, and then the operator can just make a selection from the pre-populated metadata. Or there can be, you can add sort of free-flowing text boxes, so you can type in sort of specific kind of text on the fly. You can have things like date pickers you can add, so it'll choose today's kind of date and time, or obviously you can select another date and time. I mean, obviously you can also set up some of this metadata to be pulled automatically from the media files in your Vantage workflow, but this really allows the ingest operator to pick and choose what metadata they would like to submit.
Exactly. That's awesome. And I think everybody's getting this. So just to confirm, so like location, project, summary, ingest date, those are variables that are already established inside of Vantage, right, Owen?
Correct. Yes. I mean, we can jump into Vantage and sort of show that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
So here we have a very simple kind of Avid ingest workflow, which the first thing it does, it receives the 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 kind of well, it's a CML light file which we send from Content Agent to Vantage, and then in here you can obviously set up your various labels. So we've got some kind of Avid ingest labels here, for example, which will then kind of populate. And obviously you can have sort of, you can predefine what some of those labels will be and variables.
And just and by the way, everybody, just to confirm, in order to create a label, I believe you need the metadata option if you don't have it. Okay. And there are ways to do this without the metadata option, just for what it's worth.
I mean, to be clear, it also does detect variables as well. So
yeah.
in this,
Yep.
Yes. So, I mean, at this point, I mean, what it's using is using the variables to kind of configure the path to put some AEF files into once it's created the kind of, it's run the transcode and then created an OP1A and then rewrapped it as an OP atom file. So it's building up a little folder path for your kind of where it's going to put the AEFs for each clip from the card. So, I mean, obviously it's a very basic workflow. Obviously you could have a much more complex Avid workflow, but I think you can understand the principle of the matter, that it's we're reading the metadata and then allowing you to submit that through the CardAgent user interface.
Yeah.
And then once you've submitted your kind of work, it'll then kind of give you some progress on the workflow as it heads through kind of each node, oh sorry, each action. it'll show you kind of the overall progress, or if it's if it's run successfully or failed. So here we are. It gives you a little kind of graph to show you something running and a percentage. Now, one of the things we've done is obviously sometimes you might not be able to, the Vantage system, you might not be able to reach the location of the camera card. So we've got this, what we call a kind of backup workflow, where the first thing CardAgent does is when you submit a job, it'll take the whole camera card and it'll copy it to the location you've set. So you could be taking it from a memory card and putting it directly onto your NAS or SAN or onto a disk array, for example. And then it'll then run the workflow to the Vantage system from that new location. So that's just to make sure that if Vantage can't see the path to the media files because it doesn't have permissions to read that path, it can still copy, CardAgent can copy the card to a location the Vantage system can read from. And obviously that's up to you as the kind of operator to choose whether you want to copy the camera card or not. But it does things like it'll run MD5 checksums on the card to make sure that it's copied the card in its entirety from one location to the other.
Excellent.
I mean, beyond that, I mean, there's, like I was mentioning, there's the files mode where you can you can build your own little camera card structure. So you can pick individual clips and then build up a kind of playlist, and you can rearrange the clips in the playlist. So that's what Nick is just going to show here. So you can kind of drag over onto the which clips you want to use, and then you can reorder the clips, and then you can send that to a workflow where it'll transcode all the clips together and kind of create a very simple little sequence. So it's some very crude editing in a way, but it's quite useful sometimes. I mean, obviously the system can also handle, for example, spanned camera cards, and you can choose in this user interface whether you want to submit spanned clips to Vantage for processing. So if you've got a spanned clip, it'll then transcode the sub clips of that clip, so that, or you can choose just to process every single clip individually, so ignore the spans on the camera card. I mean, some users like to transcode without spanned clips, or some people prefer to do the processing with the spanned clips.
Very cool. Brian Vaught, we've been talking about this a lot. Do you have any questions? Any quick thoughts, Brian?
No, I think the biggest concern we're going to run into is visibility of workflows, because it looks like it shows all visible workflows. So that's one thing we'll want to look at.
That's a great question, Owen. Do you basically have access, do you log into CardAgent and then do you just have access to whatever workflows you have privileges for?
Yeah, I'll let Nick actually answer that question.
So, I mean, if someone can tell me a better way of doing it, that'd be great. But at the moment, we connect to via the API, and it enumerates all the workflows and the categories. So if there's a way to filter that somehow, then we certainly could do that. And we could obviously have something where we could say, well, let me type something in down here and then only show categories that match that pattern, or workflows that match that pattern, to reduce that list even further if you're worried about people having access to things that they shouldn't have, perhaps.
Can you do it by job status view access in the Vantage management console? That's kind of how we do it. Like, each department can only see their workflows and monitor them, and that if that mirrored CardAgent, that would be awesome. That way, like, our central ingest department can only see their workflows and have those choices.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey folks, I can translate a little bit there, Nick. Nick, for you, there's not an API call that allows you to use user information via the API to filter on workflows. So, so Ted, that stuff's not bubbled up through the API currently today. It's not impossible, but that's a really good request and something that Owen, you should probably have the team digest to see how we want to handle that. My guess is string-based filtering is going to be the easiest way to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay,
obviously, you're only
yes.
going to see progress here of things that you've actually submitted personally, if that's any help.
Yes, I mean, it's not going to show you your entire sort of Vantage kind of system overview. It's just going to show you the clips or cards you've submitted and the progress of them.
How are they named on the
Gotcha.
side? Are they named uniquely in the job status so you know it's a CardAgent submission? Do you like preference CardAgent and then the card name? Yeah, there you go. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest concern, right? Because it's showing you all receive workflows. So if you have a forwarding workflow or anything like that, it's going to be interesting. Because technically, CardAgent will see that workflow.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I'm sure we can do a better job of filtering this. I mean, that's really useful feedback. And so if we do some string matching, should we do that on the workflow names or on the actual categories?
Ted or Brian, you have thoughts on
I mean, either one would work because, I could just build a set of workflows that have, CardAgent / department or whatever in it, and then, or match it by user. Just any way to just make it exclusive would be helpful.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. I agree with that.
Okay. No, I mean, it's fairly trivial.
Awesome. And for what it's worth, Nick, I mean, a couple years ago we had a wrangling tool that we licensed from a third party called Media Manager, and this was the #1 feature request for that as well. Like Dave said, it was whatever. So yeah, good stuff.
And the Bob and the Premiere integration was the same. The Adobe Premiere integration back in the day.
Right. Yeah. When they had the Premiere panel, exactly, Brian.
Yep.
Yeah, which Adobe no longer develops. Awesome. And any Owen and Nick, anything else you wanted to show?
No, I think that probably covers most of the sort of the basics. I mean, obviously this product's been used by many CardAgent customers. We first released it in 2014, so it's had a lot of users working on it for many years. So obviously it's quite a mature tool set. But we're always adding new kind of bits and pieces to it, functionality wise. We've tried to keep it very simple because the idea is, yes, it's really for production staff to use rather than sort of engineers. But obviously, as time goes on, people always want more kind of functionality added, and we're always concerned we're going to sort of start to lose some of the ease of use. But I think we're still in a good place with that, with the new sort of version for Vantage.
Absolutely. I really like the subclipping and then the sequence, the rough sequence building that's in there. It's
Right.
very intuitive, easy to do, apparently, seemingly. But well, I'm excited. Okay. And if there's anybody else have any other questions?
Actually, I do. Would this replace the camera card components that we purchased, or is this in addition to?
Ah, yes, that's a good question.
Yeah, Bob, I have that too. Come on.
So I would so just to be super clear, so this doesn't replace the camera ingest feature from Vantage. So if you want to do watch folder based ingest, that is still the way to go. This is not sort of superseding that, but this is really for people who want to do manual kind of decision making before they submit work, and obviously you can add the metadata very easily in these panels here. So this is kind of complementary to the camera ingest option. It doesn't really replace it. It really depends on what you're trying to do in your workflows.
Yeah, exactly. And like, just to confirm, like, with camera ingest, you have watch folders based on the type of camera card. And then so you just throw the files in there. There's no real browsing of the media beforehand. There's some nice stitching features in camera ingest as well.
Yeah, I mean, we do support those features actually in this. So the time alignment, that you can trigger that from CardAgent. So we can still evoke those similar sort of features that you get with the camera ingest option in Vantage.
I have one last question. Is this like, can you run this on a single VM and then have, or is this an application that you would run on each edit station, or how, and kind of like job status views, that's a web GUI. How would each user get to this? And do I need to have licenses or?
So you can either, so we're going to sell it as a single license, and then probably some little packs where you buy a pack of licenses. So a single license you can run on, like we have here, we're running this on a PC, but you could also run it potentially on a VM running a Windows 10 kind of instance. But it is an application. It's not a web GUI. It's a proper Windows app.
Does it have a user login, Owen?
Well, with
No.
CardAgent it does, yes. But with Vantage, have we implemented that, Nick? I'm not
No,
sure.
well, there isn't a notion of
there isn't
users on
really.
Vantage, as I understand.
No, I was going to say.
So, I mean,
Okay. So it would just be this application, and anybody, can get access to it, and everybody is going to have the same experience. There's going to be no difference in privileges or whatnot when you
at this moment in time, yes, right. Correct. Yes. So what typically we find is we have customers who you go into a production company or a post house, and they'll have maybe 4 or 5 of these CardAgent applications running on separate computers, and they'll have all sorts of card readers connected. So people come in from a shoot, they'll plug a hard drive or a memory card into the PC. CardAgent will automatically scan and show you whatever camera card has been sort of, if it's a USB device, it'll automatically present that card. And then you just sort of pick your Vantage workflow and hit submit, and off you go. So it's pretty simple.
I have one more $1 million feature that was only going to make you guys money. You can add some sort of antivirus quick scan the drive before it loads in here. That's another big concern that we have with these stations that will be doing this. That is this drive safe to load? Is there no malware or whatever? And that's some sort of feature that it says green, clean, good to go, and then it loads all the clips. We would pay for that.
I see. Yes. I mean, obviously, at the moment, some customers will just run obviously various virus checking applications sort of on the PC itself. But yes, I see your point.
As I insert my USB drive, you don't want us to do anything with it until some virus checker has been over it first. That's the idea.
Yeah, I mean, it just as another auxiliary check. That'd be great.
Yeah. Do you have a virus checker that you guys trust out of interest?
Well, that's another $1 million question. Right now we have like 5 POCs going because every different one messes up a different software. So.
Yeah, and it's a very interesting question. We'll have a think about that.
Yeah, we'll definitely think about that. No, that's a good one. No, thanks for that. So yes, so if any of you are coming to NAB, we'll be showing it sort of on the show floor on the Telestream booth, and then we're going to sort of release it shortly afterwards. So it'll all be available shortly for you to have a go with.
Good stuff. Thanks, Owen. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, and thanks everybody for the feedback. So, so the next part of the conversation, we want to talk about captioning. It's one of my favorite topics because there's a lot of depth to it. And I do have a PowerPoint slide. I've been learning a lot about Teams today. Teams doesn't like a virtual machine, so I can't show Vantage, so I have screenshots in PowerPoint, okay? But let me just get into this and we can talk about it as we go. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So look at all these presentations that Teams lets me show. Not a single one of them is open, okay? I have one presentation open and it's the one I want to show you. Oh my God, they're unbelievable. So let me just get it set up. Okay. And go into share mode. I'm going to share my screen. So is everybody seeing the Vantage user group slide?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. So I do have, some demos of the stuff we're going to show, kind of Julia Child style. And I want to make this dynamic. So if you have questions, please jump in, okay? But this is a list of some captioning tools, that are available via Telestream, okay? Time text speech is our cloud-based service for creating a transcript, okay? You all know about Mac Caption Maker, and probably saw the news about Stanza, this new browser-based alternative. And by the way, your Mac Caption Maker licenses are still valid. We're just going to discontinue support on those in 2023. Stanza will be coming out in Q2, and the first iteration of it will be like the pro version of Mac Caption Maker, and then there'll be a desktop-like version of it later in the year. So we have those tools for creating captions. We have time text flip for manipulating captions, changing formats, retiming, whatnot. Cloud speech is an action within Vantage that enables you to associate time text speech with a Vantage workflow. And there's also captioning tools in Flip 64 and Associate. And I think there's like 3 basic workflows, and these are some names that I'm calling here. Auto transcript is, and I'll show this, it's just logging into time text speech, and from that service, you can upload a file, create a text file, and even preview it and make some edits to it, okay? And then save that SRT or text file wherever you'd like. Then there's also a semi-automated round trip, which starts from Mac Caption or Caption Maker, and where you may want to QC the captions. And you may want to do this if you don't have good audio quality, or maybe there's a lot of background chatter, or your speakers have a heavy accent. Whatever. So you may want to use Mac Caption to dynamically QC the captions as they're coming in. And then the headless, completely automated, hands-free round trip type workflow. But this auto trend, so this is what the screenshots look like, and I'm gonna just describe these, and then I'm gonna quit out of the presentation and I'll show them to you. But this first section up here is when you log into Telestream Cloud and you go into time text speech, these are the projects that I've created, okay? And then when you click into a project, okay, you can click on this button to submit a project to be processed. So let me drop out of this, and I want to go over now. Did it dynamically change? Are you seeing time text speech now?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Okay, so if you know, so this is time text speech, logged into my account. I have these different projects. Now, just to give you a heads up, this administration project, if I go into my project settings, I have not enabled a custom vocabulary here. Okay, so this is just the standard service. Okay, and I pushed a couple files up here. This is this captioning demo. I just read some content from a user manual, and then this Chronicles one, I just read a paragraph from a book. Okay, and these are the two demos. I mean, I'll show these to you also with the vocabulary option punched in. So this captioning demo one, I click in here, and once you upload your file, this is a tool. You get a nice little editor right here, so you can quickly view the quality of the transcript. And there's a little editor here and here, and you can edit these words. You know, it's you know, it's an average. It's nothing compared to Mac Caption or Caption Maker, but it's a very quick and dirty way to view your results and maybe do some quick edits. But if you see here, this one, it got some capitalization, it got some spelling right, but you know, it types out 175. You know, it didn't get any hyphens. So you know, a so-so result. If you're bringing this into Mac Caption, obviously you could have made those changes very quickly. Okay. And receiving this text would really, I think, you know, accelerate the process. And then here, this other one on Chronicles, this one, like, this one has a lot of misspellings. This word's not speaker, it's seeker, and it's capitalized. There's ecumenical is capitalized and it's spelled wrong. It's a place, not a word. I mean, there's just a lot of mistakes here. Okay, so I did that same project. Okay, down here, and I turned and in here I loaded these words in the vocabulary. Okay, and then the results that I got, you can see seeker is now capitalized. Okay, they spelled ecumenica right, but it didn't get capitalized. Spelled Technicolor properly down here as well. It got a lot of other things proper. You know, Davina is capitalized, but it didn't capitalize Papa. And they spelled Davina properly here. A lot of the spelling is much better in general here. It got the hyphenated words as well. And then you can also see when I did that. You don't want to hear it there. And here, this one, same thing. So it got, you know, 175 is the number, not the word. You know, and it got some capitalizations. Accuracy is much better. So this is the vocabulary. This is the vocabulary option in the service. It does double your cost, but it increases your accuracy. Dave, could you speak? Dave Norman, are you still on? All right, Dave.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm like bouncing around between screens. Sorry, I had to find the mute button. I'm here. Yeah, what's going on? What can I help with?
I was just wondering, could you speak to, like, you know, how elastic the service is? I mean, are the quality of results going to improve over time? If you use this, you know, the same kind of general speak?
Yeah, I could talk about it. So there's two speech engines that we support now at Time Text Speech for that service within Telestream Cloud. One is what we call our legacy speech engine. That's IBM Watson. That has one unique capability that we don't have in our newer speech engine, which is that supports streaming audio. So you can get audio returned as files are being transcribed by the speech engine. And that's nice. But you do notice in Bob's one example, you saw something called percent hesitation. That's the speech engine not really knowing what to do with that particular spoken word. It can't interpret it correctly. And so you'll see a bunch of percent hesitations when you're using the Watson engine. And again, that's just an artifact of using not necessarily the most modern speech engine at Telestream Cloud's Time Text Speech Service. And so what Bob has turned on by enabling custom vocabulary is actually our latest integrated speech engine, which is Google's enhanced speech engine. And Google's enhanced speech engine supports things like capitalization and punctuation, and then also supports vocabularies, both word-based and phrase-based. And so you have there's a limit to the vocabulary and a limit to the amount of phrases, but it does help significantly with proper nouns, particularly if you have a bunch of, let's just say, athlete names. That helps a lot, and that is one example that was used recently for this particular product. And the one thing about this engine is it does not have the ability to learn. The way we have it integrated, it does not have learning capabilities. And so you have to instruct it what proper nouns are to be used if it doesn't get those correct. And you can submit that vocabulary list either. The primary way to submit that is actually through the submitting client. And in this case, we would recommend using Vantage, Time Text, or actually it's called in Vantage, the action is called Cloud Speech. We'd recommend using Cloud Speech, and it's just a simple text document that follows the media that gets uploaded. And you can upload that on the fly. So say it lives on a NAS location, host name, share name, file name, AI vocabulary. You could run a job at 7:42. You could then go update that after the job completes at 7:45, and it would then use the new text document with the updated vocabulary in there the next time a job ran. And so that's how the engine is taught. It's explicitly taught with the vocabulary list, but the way to turn on our most accurate engine is to check the custom vocabulary list. That will, you'll see some things later this year where this user interface in terms of what engine you're using will be much more clear. Like right now, the only way you know is because we've told you that custom vocabulary equals Google Enhanced. And so that's that checkbox there that Bob's showing you that does that and turns on Google Enhanced. That's the most accurate one, and it does a pretty damn good job of getting accuracy nailed, at least much better than Watson in what we've seen. And there will be some other speech engines that we're releasing to the cloud later this year, and there's more to come on that. But I don't know, Bob, does that answer what you needed?
No, that's good stuff, Dave. So excellent. So this is a way to use the captioning service. Just logging in, uploading a file, maybe building a vocabulary, and getting an SRT file. Okay. And then you get the quick QC, and I found that nice merge button, which I thought was pretty handy, right here. Okay, but anyways, another workflow is one, and hopefully you're seeing Mac Caption now. Is when you want to QC the captions with a better tool. Okay. Like Mac Caption. And so here I've imported a video file. This is the one, the Notre Dame one, when I was reading from a manual. Okay. So I've got this file in here, and then I can just go up here under transcription, and I can say I want to transcribe the movie. First you establish your Telestream Cloud account. Okay. And then you come in here and you want to transcribe the movie. And what's cool is that you can choose your project. So if I punch this into administration, this is the one without the vocabulary. This one has the vocabulary in it. So I'm going to choose that one. I'll hit submit. Okay. And now it's taking the audio, it's just stripping the audio from the video, and it's pushing it up to this, up to Time Text Speech, and probably in about another, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 seconds, we'll start to see captions populate in the Mac caption interface. And the speed at which the captions come in, a lot of it's determined by your internet connection. And so I'm just dialing into the internet from my apartment building in the city. So anyways, should be coming pretty soon. And you get the confidence indicator right here, starting speech to text. Okay, so this confirms that you've triggered the job. Oh, and I did this maybe 3 or 4 times today, and this is the slowest it has been, and I don't know why.
Curse of the live demo, Bob. We all know this one.
Yeah, it could be because my internet connection's busy coming from the apartment building, but I can't explain it. I have pushed this one up before. I'm wondering if it's just not doing it because I've already done it. I'm gonna hit cancel. Transcribe movie. I'm gonna try submitting it one more time. But here I'm gonna go to the PowerPoint slide, show you what it would. In this semi-automated process, I've showed you the Mac caption interface right here. When you're done with Mac caption, you can save it as a caption file, and then obviously you can punch it over to Vantage or CloudPort, and then have those captions associated with your video and embedded or whatnot and punched out. Okay. Let's see if it's still, there we go, bang. So again, you can see I used the vocabulary, so I got a lot of the capitalization and the hyphenated words, and then I have the Mac caption tool set here to do the editing. I do think that it was slow just because I think everybody in the building is watching television and the internet's just busy here. Okay, so it was significantly faster this afternoon. But and then the last workflow, the fully automated headless one, I think this one is ideal when you don't need to QC your captions and you have confidence in the audio quality, etc. And you can just shove content into the service, okay? And the workflow, the workflow is pretty straightforward. I built a workflow that strips the audio, and then I send, using deploy, I send that audio file up to S3. Cloud Speech picks it up. I want to get a SRT file out, and then Time Text Flip grabs it and converts it to SCC. And then Flip 64 does the associate and the embed. Okay. So I trust all you guys are familiar with this, but I really just wanted to show off Time Text Speech because we some of the enhancements that Dave's talked about are fairly new. The caption quality has been improved, and I think we've got more improvements coming. Joe Valenti, you guys did some testing with this recently. Could you speak to maybe the quality of the audio that you were pushing up, both in terms of, crosstalk, chatter, maybe, clarity of speech and the results that you got?
Sure. Yeah, we've been testing for a couple weeks now. We're still in development mode. We have it running in our dev environment, and we are impressed right out of the gate. We got some free credits from Bob, thank you, and we burned through them already so quickly because once the team got a feel for it, they just said, "Hey, we got a perfect project for this. Could we throw this entire, all these files at it, and this way the team could kind of start on it quickly." And we're using it for Avid at the moment. We have a lot of Avids in our facility, and they are using the script sync and Avid to kind of take just the real dumb text file that's coming out of the cloud from Telestream, and they're syncing that with Avid script sync, and they're able to start quickly. And we were the other day, we started messing around with some radio calls, which are just the announcers that are doing the radio broadcast for NFL games. So we were throwing that at it to see if we could do a project next season where we just start taking all the radio calls and transcribe all of them, and then deliver that into the interplay system so that producers can just search all our radio calls already transcribed. This way they can just start producing a lot quicker. We like the product. We are very happy with the product, and we are buying it. So we're fully interested, and we want to see where this is going to go. We really think the next round of the vocabulary learning is going to be what we're looking for. Eventually, what we want to do is have if someone's interviewing Tom Brady, we want the vocabulary to know automatically that that's Tom Brady, and it'll put his name there. So we want it to learn. And I think that's where it'll go.
And I think just specifically, if it's like an announcer talking to Tom Brady, you just want the service to designate this is Tom Brady talking, this is the announcer talking, right, Joe?
Yep, exactly. It'll know which announcer is who, and then it'll just break that up with time code for you, so it's automatically there. I'm happy to show you the setup of this if you want. It was super easy to set up. It only took us about 20 minutes to dig in and set it up and get it going.
Please do.
All right, I'll share my screen. So this is our dev environment. We did a pretty simple workflow here, but before you begin, you want to set up that cloud account like Bob mentioned, and then inside your settings, you'll have this Telestream cloud option, and you want to put your credentials into there. You then have to add the cloud service, which is automatically sent in with some of the latest versions of Vantage, if you've noticed. It's sort of one of those things that they tell you to turn off if you're not using, but we had to turn this on. And then we install the cloud service right here. So you got to add it into your domain. And then from there, we just built a simple workflow that it's a watch folder workflow, and it decides if it has video or not. If it has video, we make a quick proxy, and then we send it to Cloud Speech using that account. And this is that checkbox that Dave and Bob were mentioning, where you select you want to use your customary vocabulary. We haven't done that yet. We're just using that advanced vocabulary, and we're trying to figure out who's going to be responsible for keeping that vocabulary list going, because we want to make sure it's constantly getting updated with the best information. And we don't want multiple people doing that, so we're just trying to figure out who does that. Is that engineering? Is that someone on the producer side? And from there, it's kind of off to the races, and it delivers a message to the producers and the team, and it drops it in their NAS. And then from there, there's a team that works to get it into the Avid. So the assistant editors present that into Avid, and then they stitch it to the file that we made in Vantage.
Sweet.
And that's pretty much it. And I could show you, I mean, if I showed you what you know what we're seeing on our end, it's the same thing Bob showed, where the text is very accurate with that advanced vocabulary added.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Thanks, Joe.
Yep, no problem.
But I showed what I wanted to get out there. I'm thinking that maybe a lot of you have seen the workflow stuff before. I'm hoping that maybe the quality of time text speech might be new to you, and also that web-based editor. I just really started playing with it in the last couple of weeks, and it is a nice quick way to see the quality of your captions, if that makes sense for you. But anyways, that's what I got.
I got a quick question, Bob.
Yeah.
Is there a plan to have time text speech sort of do the inverse, where you could, say, provide it with a caption or subtitle file and an audio file, and have it do an analysis to say it's early or it's late or it's wrong, and then provide you with corrections?
I don't know about that. I do know that if you choose the vocabulary option, that's a binary option. It's either on or it's off. Okay. So if you use it just to put up, say, just proper nouns, and you only put a handful of proper nouns in, you'll get charged the same amount if you had just put in the entire transcript. So if you have a transcript, you can load that whole transcript in, and that'll greatly increase your accuracy. Okay, I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about, Jake, but Dave, do you want to speak to his question?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit. You're looking for effectively a caption correction and something that's likely tied to an underlying audio waveform analysis, so that captions are in sync. When the waveform is bouncing, obviously captions should be occurring. At least certain frequencies of that waveform would indicate human speech. And so today we don't have that, Jake. That's something we want to do, but there are some very specific reasons we haven't done that yet. I can get into more offline. But a lot of this has to do with some intellectual property that's wrapped up in patents.
Sure. Understood. Thanks, Dave.
Interesting. Good stuff. Thanks, Dave. Well, folks, we're wrapping up an hour early. Okay, that's good. Thanks again for Owen and Nick for joining from overseas. Thanks for you all. Who knows where our next one will be? I'm thinking there's better than a 50-50 chance it could be in person somewhere. So, somebody's got a question. Go ahead.
So Bob, what about there is an option to filter the profanity? Is there any way to flag it?
Dave?
If you want me to take that, there's not. What's going to happen is if someone said, the F word or the S word, what's going to happen is it's going to give you the first character of that explicative, and it's going to asterisk out everything else.
Okay, got it.
So there's not a way to flag or count, or today, dictionary replace, for those BSG fans, FUCK with frack. So that there's not a way to do that today. That is something that we hope to be able to do later this year. And a lot of that is going to be, as we move forward for this year, you'll notice and you'll hear a lot more about this new release we have called Stanza. That's going to be our consolidated captioning platform that's going to consolidate all of the capabilities of Mac Caption and Caption Maker over the next, not tomorrow, not imminently, but over the next 18 months. Hopefully we'll have parity with both of those products, and those other two will start to get sunset. And I think we just released the Mac Caption sunset thing today, Bob. And so there will be capabilities like that inside of Stanza, though. That will be more robust from a curse word handling perspective, and word replacement, spell check type stuff will be in Stanza.
Thanks, Dave. The application we were looking for is if somebody misses it, we actually kind of bleep these profanity also. So if in the audio itself, right? So if it's still goes through and then the time text catches it, that's what we are looking for. That means somebody has missed a swear word which was supposed to be bleeped and it was not, because then the time text wouldn't have like caught it at all. It would have just said like bleep or however it translates it.
Yeah, and to tail off that a little bit too is having it push that into metadata as explicit, to know that there's an explicit tag on it. So when you check it into say interplay or you use it for another purpose, that it's already tagged for the end user to know that this piece of raw footage is explicit.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, got it. All right, thank you.
Good point, Brian. Good stuff, Anand. Thanks for asking. Does anybody have any more thoughts about tonight or the user group? Okay. All right. Well, again, I'm hoping that we meet in person. I think the next user group will probably be in the fall, September, October, unless something significant comes about. Jake, as always, thanks for joining. Thanks for hosting the Slack channel. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your evening to join us all and contributing to the conversation. All right. So unless anybody has something else they'd like to share, I'll bid you all adieu. All right.
Thanks, Bob.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.